Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode. As you've seen in the beginning of the video, it's getting to winter. So as you know, I live up in northern Sweden. We get winter, we get snow, and we get minus degrees. Quite a lot of minus degrees as well. A couple of years ago we had minus 40, so I need to get this car sorted out for winter. Now, probably thinking, well, it should already be done at that. It's been in winter. Yes, it should be, but it has come from the middle of Sweden. Now, the middle of Sweden and south of Sweden doesn't get the kind of temperatures we get up here. So they're not as equipped as the normal cars up here are. So I need to make this one winter safe. And we're going to start off by fitting these parts.
This is the actual engine heater itself. So this screws into the block. Some of them fit outside of the block and heat the oil up. This particular type fits into the cooling channel and it heats up. Then we've got the green cable here. This is the one that goes into the front of the car and goes to the box at the side of the car when you plug the car into the wall. So that gives me my 230 volt mains outlet. Then there's two of these cables that are identical. These are just joint cables. We've got this one. This is the one that the green cable actually connects to. There's a little lid on it, like that. That fits to the front of the car, and that comes in on there. That then splits up through that, and then it goes out through two cables. So one of these will go to the engine heater. That one will go to the engine heater because it's shorter, and the longer one goes into the inside the coupe of the car, and that gets connected to this plug here, which is a European plug, as you can see, and that fits into the cabin somewhere, and that's where you put your cabin heater plugged into that. So it's basically a 240 volt system. This system is one from DEFA. There are two different systems, two different makes. You've got DEFA and you've got Carlix. They're the two most popular ones up here in Sweden. This kit cost me around about 3,000 crowns, something like that, which is about 350, 400 quid, something like that for this kit. The only thing that's not in this kit is the actual cabin heater, and I have already got one of those on my Focus that I'll be taking from there, putting it on this car. So that's the basic kit that you need. So that is one separate piece, that is one separate piece, and then that is a separate piece. So it's three separate boxes for separate things. So that is unique for, well, the car basically, or the engine. That specific engine will fit there. So let's go and have a look under the engine where that gets plugged in.
So these engine heaters can be fitted in several different positions. Some of them, like I say, can be fitted to the side of the sump here, and they'll heat up the oil. Like in that sort of position there, it's a nice flat surface there. You can heat the aluminium of the oil up, and that'll heat the oil up, which is a good way of doing it. But as you can see on here, there is probably a hole there. So there is probably somebody that does make a kind of bracket for it, but that's not where we connect it in. Back in the olden days, on the old engines, you used to pop out a frost plug at the back here. Now, most new engines don't use that anymore, but this one does actually. Up there, you can see there is an Allen key bolt. So you take that bolt out, and I can screw the engine heater straight into that hole instead. It's quite simple, quite easy to just take that out, put a new one in. Might be a bit solid now, it's been sat there for many years, but that's where you take that out and put the new one into there. There are kits that you can buy that will actually fit into there, into that hose there. So you cut that hose in half, you put a heater inside there, and it will actually have a pump, and it'll pump the heating system around in the car. So you can pump that, and it'll actually pump coolant into the cabin as well. So you don't need to have a cabin heater, it'll use the car's system, but they usually fit it from the factory. This is an aftermarket one, and therefore it gets cut into one of them if you were to use a coolant heater. Mine is a coolant heater, but it doesn't fit into there. So I'm going to get that plug out the back of there, which is a 12mm Allen key. I'm going to start with that because that's the dirtiest part. Once that's done, everything else is fairly clean. Right, so there, the engine heater is now fitted. As you can see, it's pointing towards the exhaust, but they are actually slightly adjustable in there, so that is loose and it should be pointing at a 9 o'clock angle. So that is now screwed into place. It was a 27mm spanner, and at the bottom of that nut there is actually a washer to seal it against there, so you just screw it in, tighten it up, and that's it, done. So that's now pointing at a 90-degree angle, and we're done under here. Now that the engine heater is fitted onto there, what I normally do now is to get electricity in from the front of the car there to the engine bay, and from there I can take one cable into the cabin and one cable to the actual engine heater. And to do that, we have this cable. So this is the end that sits on the outside of the car that you plug the green cable into. It's got 3 pins there, so one's earth and 2 alive and a neutral in there. Now this you can fit in several different ways. As you can see there, it's threaded on the back there, so you can actually thread it from the back. It does also come with this kit here. It looks like a bit of a Airfix kit, but there's a little holder there, this one, that you can actually screw onto the underside of a bumper, put it through that hole and then screw it to there. Comes with these slightly larger screws here to actually fit that little, there's a little base plate there and then the bottom there. So this part will usually get fitted to a bumper somewhere. So you've got the option to fit it kind of there like that. So obviously you'd cut out part of this grill there and you'd put that in there and then you'd screw it upwards, or you could put it at the bottom there and fit it like that and cut out part of this piece and put it in there. But I don't normally like these. It's not very often I use these at all. So as I said, this is threaded on the back. So what I'm looking in the kit now is what I haven't seen before is these 2 washers here. Now on the back of this there on the head, and hopefully we can see it there, but on the top of there there's a little lug, and that fits actually into these pieces here. So you can actually put a nice little washer around the back of there, and that locates on the back of there like that. And that looks, to me, I quite like that on there. That gives a nice look rather than it being sat against just that piece there like it used to do on the old kits. So that little washer I think I can use, and it does come with 2 different sizes, so you've got one slightly bigger. On the back side you've got this nice big washer for spreading the load out, and then you've got this, which is the actual washer. So you screw that way around against the bumper and it will actually deform slightly, but that will actually push it against the front bumper. So that is the system that I like to use, and that's the one I'm going to use. But to do that, well, we need to make a hole, obviously, and it's that sized hole. Because I don't want to make any more holes in this grill, I've already taken out for this extra light. If you've seen it on Instagram, I have actually taken it out for this LED ramp. So I've taken out a little bit of there. I don't really want to put it in that because it's not fantastic and it's not very good. So what I want to do, I was going to put it there, but I'm going to put it there. Because it's quite nice and it's black and it'll fade into this front bumper quite nicely, I think. Normally I'd like to keep it nice and nice and hidden and kind of stealthy like, and I'd probably put it here and I'd probably put it somewhere down here, but I quite like that rather than trying to get it to fit in this grill here, because this grill is, even though I've painted it, made it look nice, they don't fit fantastically. So at some point I do want to change this grill. So I think I'm going to cut a hole there, but looking on the back side of down there, there's actually quite a bit of room down the back there to get the cable and the plug through. So I'm going to drill a 32mm hole there and put the plug in there, so you won't actually see it. Some people do actually put them on the side here, just kind of there in the side here, so you can get to them. It doesn't matter whether you put them on the left side or the right side, really doesn't matter. It's your own personal preference, but I usually put mine on this side.
Well, I've committed now, but there's a piece of metal at the back there stopping me from getting the drill in further. So I've drilled to about, it should be a 24mm hole, and I've drilled to somewhere about 22, somewhere like that. So that hole is very slightly too small. So somehow I need to pull this bumper out slightly to be able to drill that hole. So that's that fitted now. Doesn't look too bad. I quite like these washers that they've sent with it now. They've not had that for many years, but I think that looks alright. On the back side there's a nice big washer to spread the load, and then you've got the nut that tightens it up on the back of the bumper. So I should have really drilled that hole a centimetre, maybe 2, slightly higher up, because that cable does now actually come out onto the beam across the front of there, but not a lot I can do about it. If I ever change the front bumper, then I'll know to move that hole up a bit. As you can see, I had to take the headlight out, I had to take the fog light out, the towing eye hole out, and I had to take that grill out there just to get this in. So they're not always that easy to get to, but that looks quite nice. So now I've been able to pull the cable through this piece here along there, and it'll follow up along with the wiring for the fog lights up there, and I can pull it up there. And then you've got the earth there. Now this is the earth, that's the earth for the 230, and I'll be able to put it onto probably that bolt there, or just put an extra screw. It does come with that self-tapping screw just to tighten in somewhere to get an earth for the 230 into the chassis, so that the chassis doesn't become live with 230 volts. So I'm going to put all of these back in, put the headlight back in, put that screw in, and then we can get back to it. So the cable that comes from there goes now up there behind the headlight, round the back of the headlight there, up along the front here, along there. You can just about see it down there. That's where it goes there. Then it goes underneath the header tank, and then it comes out there. There's an earth cable. There's an earth cable there, which is the one I've just screwed down for the earth, and that's the 230 volt earth, or the 240 volt earth. So if anything happens, the car isn't live, so it's earth to the chassis. So what I want to do now is run that there somewhere, add the little connector to it, and then we can add another cable going across there and down there into the engine heater, and then I can put one through the bulkhead there somewhere. Right, so that's where the T-joint is, and then I've got the cable to go all the way across the back there. It's kind of attached to that air conditioning hose back there, goes along there, it then appears at the back here. So I'm just going to cable tie it down to the 2 hoses there going into the heater matrix. It then goes down there, under there, and into the engine heater. So that is as hidden as I'm going to get it. So it's there, but only if you're really looking for it, you'll see that it's there. Right, so moving in here, we pull the glove box out, and what we can see immediately is this little thing here. I've already pulled a bit of the insulation off, but there is a cable just there, and that goes through to the engine bay. So what we can do is poke that bit of rubber grommet in, and we'll pull it out the other side, and then we'll have to try and make the rubber grommet on the outside slightly bigger, and then we should be able to get the cable to come through there, and then we can feed to the socket to fit somewhere in here. Right, eventually that is now there. So that's the cable that goes into the cabin. That's the cable that comes from the front of the car, and that's the cable that actually goes to the engine heater. So that's nicely tucked away in there. It's quite a struggle to get it through that grommet. It's quite a struggle to get it through that grommet that goes into there, but that's now in. And there is where it comes out. So now we can put that bit of insulation back. So that's that. So all we need to do now is fit that end. Right, so that cable now coils up quite nicely onto the top of there, and it does come out through the little gap in the side there, and we can put the plug on there, and then I'll put the cabin heater screwed into this plastic just there. So I'm quite happy with that.
So that is where I fitted the plug now. So there's only one piece we're left now to fit, and that's that. So this is the actual heater. It is a 220 or 240 volt heater, so it's a mains heater, and that plugs into the mains socket that's just here. And I am going to fit it on that side there. Now normally you fit these, or I normally fit these, pointing slightly upwards at an angle there, so that it sends the heat around the car rather than pointing it straight ahead here and sending it into the side of the seats. So this is a cheaper one, but I quite like these. I've used these before. It's a Biltema one. I quite like them. So that is the heater itself. It's a brushless machine, so it's very, very quiet but very, very effective. Just got an on-off switch on the side. It is, what is it, 1400 watts, so it's quite a powerful little thing. And that's the bracket that you get with it as well. So that bracket you fit to the side there. I normally point them upwards like that so that they point diagonally up into the car rather than pointing straight into the seat. So we're just going to screw that to there, and then I'll run the cable underneath the mat there and plug it into there. And that's that done.
Well, I had help from some of my students today to bleed the brakes in, as I couldn't do it at the weekend, and they forced me to put winter tyres on. So that's the last piece of the puzzle then. Winter tyres are now on the ST150. I don't like putting winter tyres on, and I definitely don't like putting winter tyres on this car. Look at how much rubber there is on there. It's massive. Never mind, it's only on there for about another 6 months, and then I get back to my proper white wheels.
So, moment of truth then. It is minus 19 this morning. The car, as you can see, is plugged in to the post there. And just for reference, there's my Focus that's not been plugged in overnight. And there's the ST. Lovely, warm and toasty. So yeah, I'm going to call that a win. So that's all for this video. If you like what you've seen in this video, please press that like and subscribe button. I'm going to go inside and warm up now, but I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye-bye.